Well, after a game like that, it is very hard not to feel incredibly angry and frustrated at what, in my opinion, went against Manchester United today. And look, whenever you go down to 10 men, if you don't concede and you don't lose, in my opinion, that's still a good result. And we can still be pleased that at least we've not lost the game and we've still got 1 point towards wherever we're going to finish for the rest of the season. But I cannot do any analysis of the game and my thoughts of the players and any of the stuff that I normally do until we talk about the refereeing that happened today, because it was an absolute shambles throughout the game, especially in the first half, but even some of the decision-making in the second half from the officials was incredibly poor. But we'll start with the red card, because the red card is the key turning point of the game. And I've brought pictures. So I can't show the actual footage because of the Premier League rights and whatever, but I can show still photos. And look, here is the challenge that Casemiro makes that he gets sent off for. He is not out of control. He is not got his studs up. He is low. He is on the floor and he gets the ball. That should be the end of the conversation. What happens afterwards is a freak accident just due to the ball physics and how it moves. And unfortunately, what happens is he bobbles up off of the top of the ball into the player's leg like that. And when you look at that still photo, I can obviously understand why people think Casemiro should be sent off. But that has happened just as a consequence of him bouncing off the ball. He cannot help that from happening. He has not deliberately done anything wrong. He is not endangering the player. And Alcaraz just gets up afterwards. Casemiro goes over, apologises for hurting him, but Alcaraz gets up and gets on with it because I don't even think he thought it was a foul. The man gets the ball, but it bobbles up and it catches the top of the player's leg and he's been sent off for it. Now, I actually thought that we were going to be a victim of slow motion and selective replays once again. And I actually thought Anthony Taylor was going to go over to the monitor and change his decision because, once again, the VAR official slowed the footage so far down that all that he initially showed of the challenge was the bit where Casemiro's leg goes off the top of the ball on to Alcaraz's leg. He didn't show the initial challenge at all. He didn't show Anthony Taylor the challenge at all. He just showed the bit where he went across and caught the player's leg. And then Anthony Taylor asks him to go back and show the challenge in full. And I thought, brilliant. He's going to look at the challenge properly, recognise what's happened, and then realise that, okay, fine, it's not a red card, but, because it's just a complete accident and there's nothing you can do about it. But for him to then still go and send Casemiro off, it's just, I cannot believe it. And before we go back to Anthony Taylor, I'd just like to say that the VAR official that has advised him to go over to the monitor in the first place is the same VAR official that decided not to send the referee over to the monitor yesterday when Pereira did that to João Felix. And the inconsistency of the refereeing in this division is absolutely astonishing. Because if that's not a red card, where he's nowhere near the ball and he treads on João Felix, how is that not a red card? Yet, where a player bobbles off the top of the ball and catches the man, that then is a red card, in the opinion of the same official. This is the stuff that's got to stop, and it completely changes the game. We're down to 10 men for the rest of the game. We let it get to us initially, and then we build on, and we build on, and we build on, and then comes the second major moment of controversy. And again, I've got a still image, and there is where the ball strikes Bella Kotchat's arm. It's just in the penalty area. And again, look, I'm not someone that's going to stand around here. I'll put my camera on in the corner for you so you can see me. I'm not one that goes off of still images. You know this. I spoke about it with the Sabitzer one. Still images can be very misleading. Again, we go back to the Casemiro one. If you're just shown that image, you send Casemiro off. So I'm not going to stand here and say just because of that still image that it should be given as a handball. But I have not seen a single replay of the handball incident where it doesn't strike his arm. Like, it's gone about clear and obvious errors, and they have to say without any shadow of a doubt that the ball hasn't hit his arm. The referee's not giving it, so you have to prove that the ball's hit his arm. But every single replay is conclusive that it hits his arm. So I don't understand how that penalty wasn't given. And then, like I say, it's a completely different game. We go in at half-time. But we'll come back. We'll go to the way we normally do the video now. Because, look, it was still not the best performance from Manchester United to begin with before any of that happened. I'll be honest, I thought Ten Hag was a little bit disrespectful to Southampton with his team selection. And you look at what happened yesterday with Bournemouth beating Liverpool. There are no easy games in the Premier League. So to just go, do you know what? We're going to play Anthony, Sancho, Bruno and Rashford with Weghorst up front against a bottom of the league team in Southampton because we'll just blow them away. I think that's incredibly disrespectful from Ten Hag. And I think he may have learnt his lesson not to do that again. And it's not that we weren't looking good attacking-wise. Once again, we were so wasteful in front of goal. Rashford could have squared it to Weghorst for an open goal. He had a one-on-one chance where he takes a heavy touch and we should have been 1 or 2-0 up easily before all the incidents happened afterwards. But the problem was, because we were playing so many attack-minded players, Casemiro was completely isolated in midfield when Southampton got the ball, and James Ward-Prowse is a quality player. I really rate Alcaraz. He rinsed Bruno and Casemiro before the red card even happened, and at 20 years old, I think he's got a big future in the Premier League. Whether or not that's at Southampton, depending on their survival, I don't know, but I really rate this Alcaraz kid, and Casemiro was just on his own. Sancho cannot tackle. Bruno Fernandes cannot tackle. You look at the teams that play with attack-minded midfielders, the likes of Man City and Liverpool and all that lot. They're box-to-box mids. Bernardo Silva, Kevin De Bruyne, Liverpool when it was Wijnaldum, Henderson, whoever, Thiago, whoever you want to put in those positions, they can still tackle. And Sancho and Bruno couldn't tackle. And every time Southampton got the ball, we couldn't do anything about it. And Casemiro, bless him, was on his own, basically trying to deal with the entire Southampton midfield every time we got forward. And it wasn't helped by the fact that we kept giving the ball away again. And everyone was a culprit today. Wan-Bissaka was giving it away. Shaw was giving it away. Bruno was giving it away. Casemiro was giving it away. Sancho was giving it away. Rashford was giving it away. Weghorst barely got the ball. And once again, Anthony looked absolutely ineffective on the right-hand side. And all of this stuff with the experiment of playing an out-and-out 4-1-4-1 just didn't work. And what happens is you end up with the situation. Actually, before we end up with the red card, there was the huge chance for Theo Walcott at the back post. I said I wouldn't have played Luke Shaw after his performances against Liverpool and Real Betis, and I was almost proven right when Walcott just snuck him round the back of him and thankfully headed it straight at De Gea rather than putting it in a corner because Luke Shaw was asleep once again. So yeah, this all then leads to the red card incident because once again, Casemiro has got no support. He has to overcommit to the tackle, and we've already spoken about what happens, and that all stems from how Ten Hag set up today. And it was worth an experiment, but I thought it was a little bit disrespectful to Southampton, and the experiment, quite frankly, didn't work. So we go in at half-time. We should have been 2 or 3-0 up before the red card incident because we missed our chances. Southampton probably could have scored, and we've gone down to 10 men. We start the second half the exact same way we keep starting second halves at the moment. Almost still, some people say still in the dressing room, but I think not only were we not switched on in terms of the game was kicking back off, but we were still angry about the red card and about the handball, and the petulance started to come out again. And I praised him for not being his whiny flip-out self against Real Betis, but Bruno Fernandes was the prime culprit again today when it came to that, and especially at the start of the second half. He was giving the ball away. He was fouling people. When James Ward-Prowse hit the bar, that was purely down to Bruno's petulance. He gets the ball in a tight area, does something clever, looks like he's going to get away, but then he doesn't. Makes a good tackle to win the ball back, but Lavia gets back up on his feet and still plays the pass. So Bruno just swings his left leg at him and gives the free kick away right on the edge of the box when you're playing against James Ward-Prowse. If that free kick would have gone in, I'd have been going nuts at Bruno right now. Like, a lot more than I currently am. But we allowed it to settle down a little bit. We started getting back into the game, even with 10 men. And we have to give testament, like I say, you draw a game 0-0 with 10 men, you've still done something right. But I think we got very, very lucky in regards to the fact that Southampton just missed easy chances that a better team, we lost 7-0 to Liverpool last week. If the chances that Southampton got today would have fallen as Liverpool players, it'd have been 4 or 5-0 again. Walcott probably could have had 4, but thankfully he just made mistakes when he got through on goal. And yeah, we managed to get through the rest of the game. And like I say, it's really hard to talk about anything. I thought the youngsters tried to make an impact. I don't think any of the other penalty decisions that could have been given should have been given. I don't think the challenge on Bruno was a penalty. I certainly don't think the dive from Rashford was a penalty. And I thought it was a great tackle from Walker-Peters on Garnacho. And unfortunately for Garnacho, he wasn't able to completely run off the injury he sustained in that tackle. But we looked dangerous at times in the second half. Bruno obviously hitting the post with a great effort. But at the end of the day, like I say, it's very hard to take anything away from this game without just being pulled back to the decisions that were made by the officials in the first half. And we end the game 0-0. It's still 1 point gained, I would say, just purely because we were down to 10 men. Yes, we had opportunities to win the game, but Southampton had more opportunities to win the game. So we'll take the point given what happened. It's a very tough week. Once again, we have the second leg against Betis, which will allow us to maybe try a few different things. I mean, Casemiro is probably going to have to play. I'm assuming his suspension will be upheld, which means that he'll now miss the next 4 games because it's his second red card of the season. So the suspension stacks on top of the previous one. So he'll miss the next 4 Premier League games, which is, well, one of them being the FA Cup game, of course. But really, really concerning considering how poorly we play without him. And this is what I'm saying. The long-term and short-term ramifications of what, in my opinion, is a horrendous refereeing decision could have serious consequences for the remainder of our season. But as it stands, we're still 2 points clear of Tottenham with a game in hand. There are teams below us that have multiple games in hand on us, and we have to be very careful about potentially slipping out of the top 4 if we don't get our act together. But today is what it is. We've managed to come away with a point, and yeah, we go again in the second leg in Seville on Thursday night before we head off back to Old Trafford to face Fulham, who have just lost 3-0 to Arsenal in the FA Cup quarter-final. So hopefully it's a good week and we can forget about what happened today, as we tried to forget about what happened last weekend as well. But it's very, very hard not to feel very, very annoyed right now. But as always, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Drop a like if you've enjoyed the video. I'm sure you've enjoyed the rant part of this, whether you think it's funny or whether or not you agree. And subscribe to the channel if you are new around here. I'll catch you again very, very soon.